Hello? Are we live? Welcome to another Driven Catalyst live stream. I just realized I don't have my little lights plugged in. Let me take care of that real quick. And now we're open for business. I have made yet another insanely phenomenal iced latte. I can't credit myself that much because, frankly, I'm just using the fancy espresso machine that you don't have to do any of the thing where you grind the beans and then do the aerate it and put it in the thing and then you use the puck and then you put the thing in the thing. You don't have to do any of that. You press a button. So I make espresso. Today I remembered to bring my pistachio flavored oat milk down with me so that the shot wouldn't die. I don't know if that's true, but when I worked at Starbucks, they told me it was. So I heed that. I didn't want the espresso shot to die. So I brought my dairy down with me, my non-dairy dairy. And then I brought it up here and I put ice in it. Now I'm drinking it on live with you. That's great ASMR and great coffee. I'm so sorry I can't share it with you. I would if I could, frankly. So I had my meeting. I have 2 weekly tag ups with one of my bosses. We have them Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. And Tuesday we talked through, I think I've already explained this. We talked through other objectives, and then basically he was like, hey, I want to touch base on that app idea on Thursday. Because I had come up with an app idea a while ago. I've talked about it a little bit, kind of talked about some of the personal circumstances that made me want to come up with this app idea, or not, like, that made me jot down this app idea. I was like, I need this app. And so I wanted to go into today's meeting prepared. And so I threw together branding and a wireframe for this app. I talked a little bit about that on live stream. I, at this point, have like a name and fun logo and branding ideas for it that I think we're going to ditch based on today's meeting. The whole thing changed form in a way that I'm very pleased with, actually. It was just like so helpful to like really talk through what would be helpful from an app. There's just so much that like having another brain in the room that works differently from yours, and also similarly, can just like, it's such a benefit, right? So I'm like kind of now retooling everything. The interface is going to be different than I had planned, and I like it better. Also, since our meeting, I've like looked at because of course this is an app I came up with because I needed it. So I have similar apps that I just have and use. So every single time we have these meetings, I also kind of touch base with the apps that I am using and see what it has, what it doesn't have. And there are a lot of app affordances that exist and are out there. But I feel like there is still something more to be brought to the table. I think it's still like a market that can be expanded. However, we talked through, and I'm going to look it up now while I'm remembering it. We talked through like another app category, I guess, that I need to like look into to make sure, like just to see what's out there, I guess. When we were talking through the process of developing apps and my bosses were telling me like kind of the step-by-step that you go through, one of them is checking what is out there and kind of seeing how what you're wanting to come up with compares to that. So, oh, interesting. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. Not quite what I'm thinking, but still cool. So, I'll just say, we got more into, we were in health app territory. we are more in interesting bullet journal territory. This is an app I think I may need to download and see, because it seems like it may be what I'm coming up with, but not quite though, so still. Something that also helped steer things in a way, because the catalyst for me personally that made me come up with this app idea, like we could say it fits in this circle, right? And I absolutely am part of Reddit communities and like see people on TikTok talking about congruencies in our experience. So I know I'm not alone, right? I know that there is a market. There are people that I think are being underserved by the tech space, that are experiencing things similarly to me. And if they're anything like me in how they prefer to keep track of everything, there's not an app exactly like what I would want. So then probably not for them either. Well, I learned something about the prevalence of my experience that helped me realize what my circle, my Venn diagram, my circle of experience or whatever, how, like, the breadth of it. I learned more about, like, I think I was talking symptoms rather than diagnosis. And I'm learning that there are diagnoses that are interlocked with each other, I guess. And so if you like, it's like a rectangles and squares situation where it's like not all rectangles are squares, but all squares are rectangles, right? Not all people who have this are this way, but all people that are this way have this. So I, who experience both, right, know that my brain works in this way, and everyone else whose brain works in this way probably experiences this, and this in this way too. Which is great, because if you're building a utility app or an app for something, then it's helpful to know, like, I'm just very familiar with some of the obstacles that I've run into while trying to keep tabs on everything and trying to organize the information that I'm learning about myself and the tendencies I'm noticing that I'm wanting to be better equipped to organize and quell as much as possible, or get a handle on and be able to work with it and have coping strategies and like almost optimize these habits. It's just it was beneficial to find out that there were overlaps in experience, and then finding out that there were overlaps helped me to expand the idea. So it was no longer this pigeonhole that I felt like was isolating the app concept, and also frankly kind of making it not the right fit for Driven Catalyst to develop. And so I feel like we're back on course in a way that I'm more excited about, because I feel like it's good. It's good to serve a niche, right? But also, sorry, that's funny. I distracted myself. I'm not going to go on a tangent. We're going to reel it back in. It's good to serve a niche market and community. But I almost feel like we've made it more niche and hopped niches. Does that make sense? It probably doesn't. I'm being way, way too cagey. I also said like this was going to be a work with me stream, and I've been doing more yapping than working. So I'm going to work. But I'm not going to screen share. Again, I don't like really feel like this is top secret, but it does feel like when you're developing something, like you do kind of want to keep it under wraps until it's finished, and marketable, and a thing that, I mean, for sure, like you don't want someone else to steal your idea, but also more than that, just like I don't want to share my draft, you know, maybe later. What's super exciting about this too, and I was telling my boss this today, is like obviously I don't bring to the table knowing much about software development. I don't really know what the back end of this is. I have sat in on enough development meetings at this point to know some of the buzzwords, and I was thinking going into this meeting, hey, like I should check on this website and this website and see if there's any like, let me make sure I'm using the word right. Yeah, like, so it's called Bootstrap. I'm going to sound so silly to people who know what I'm talking about, or like who know more about what I'm talking about. Probably even sillier to those who have no clue. But apparently, like, basically it's like a code library from what I've understood. I think I just said library, where like my understanding of it is like, remember back in the day when you would code inject whatever onto your Tumblr blog. This is like that, except for like all sorts of stuff. So for example, like if you're looking for, like, let me make sure I'm talking about this right. So if you're like wanting like an image hover, image scroller, image grid examples, yeah, then you can like go into Bootstrap and like find basically like code for things like that and like test it out. And then obviously people that know how to do things can like then go in and change things and make them work differently. So I even was thinking about like I should go on Bootstrap and see like, do they have features like this, or do they have features like this? And then the boss that I was meeting with, I feel like knows a lot about like what Apple has just already built in and like how that will integrate with whatever you're developing, I think. So then there were things, I was trying to put things like in my own language when I was jotting down notes to then be like, oh, and then so you know how Apple does this already, can we then just take that and like that's basically built and it can just be integrated in what we're building, which is cool. So that is kind of like what I was thinking through while doing all this. It is so funny though to go into a meeting with people that know how to build things and think through how things work. And obviously I've tried my hand at it. I've gotten like hands-on experience from other app development meetings of like trying to figure out how to talk through it and like know how things work from the like UX side of things. But like I was talking through it and I was basically explaining like, so I started just with branding. And then once I was getting into branding, I started thinking about slogans and like, what does this mean? How does this feel? Like, what do we want the feel of this thing to be? And how can we make all of the, like the tone of the brand and elements fit and make sense and live in this world? And it's almost like it all builds off of each other and like helps expand to create a bigger idea. And like language that I'll use within the app. And kind of a lot of that changed because the app idea changed and what the interface is going to look like changed. And so it's fun to be at this point where everything I'm kind of starting from scratch again, but not really. Which I think can be one of the most beneficial places to be, is back to square one, but with a whole foundation of ideas and almost like a brain map that you've already done of like, oh, well, we could do this and we could do this. And you have a good understanding of, oh, it's not this anymore. I think like that's helpful. So. In one of my philosophy classes in college, we talked about how some things are defined and our concept for defining things is based on what they're not. And so you learn what ketchup is by learning that it's not mustard and it's not mayo and it's not ranch or whatever. Or not quite, and then kind of. And you learn to define something based on the borders around it, and how there is another way of conceiving of things and understanding them that is not based on its proximity to something else. And I think there's a negotiation between defining something and developing something through its proximity to things, but then also abandoning that proximity and learning from its lack of proximity to anything else. Honestly, a lot of that is like a bit much for really what we're doing and talking about. But you know me, I gotta bring up my degree. Gotta bring up that philosophy minor. What was it? I think it was like 20 credit hours. 20 credit hours well spent. Okay. So, what was a really crazy part of... There's an app that we have developed that doesn't exist to you. And that was kind of my first experience going through this process. Hopefully it will someday be public and usable. But we got to this point where like I had been in the weeds changing the UX over and over and over again, and we would have meetings and no, not this. And like, it's crazy how much small things in UX have huge implications and like huge use case basis. It's insane, frankly. I'm gonna keep that color. Sorry, I'm like once again working through color palette stuff. Sue me, I'm a designer first. No, sue me, I'm a little girl who likes arts and crafts first. If we want to go all the way back. But it was just like crazy because we would sit in these long meetings and I would think I had like such a grasp of what we were doing and what it was for. And I thought I could answer questions. And then you learn how quickly and easily you can be stumped. And so we would like reach a point where I thought like the end is in sight. And then it would be like back to the drawing board. Something as simple as, hey, when you first download an app and it goes through like a tutorial or a startup of like, hey, this is the app, this is what it's for, this is how you start setting everything up so you can even freaking use it. You got to make that. You got to do that. You got to make sure that you're sequencing all the information in the right order and you're setting up the app in the right way. And we would run into things where there were reflexive use cases that would damn near implode the whole thing, where it's like, well, if you're using it in this way, then it's completely different from if you're using it in this way. And the way that we're building this is for both of those users to use it. And so it better work both ways. But the implications and the way that the app needs to function for both of those users is night and day, low key. So some of that was like my first year working here. And it was really cool, but crazy. Just like not anything that I had ever expected to be able to be doing. But it was really cool. I really missed that, actually. I feel like doing this and working on this project has been, granted, I've only really worked on it this week, but it's been like feeling like that again in a way that's been fun. Okay, so I was showing my dad the app last night, and my initial plan really, again, honed in on a specific experience, but my hope with the development of this app was for it to be super inclusive, and that it could be more than just for my experience. And he like pretty quickly honed in on the color palette kind of being alienating to just like, obviously, like, it's not that deep. I don't think he meant it in a way that was that deep, but he very quickly, and I learned from how quickly, took note of how quickly that was a suggestion for him. That, like, yeah, the aesthetic of it was kind of alienating a user base. And so I want it to be clean. I want it to be sophisticated. I want it to not feel like an app for only one kind of person. So I'm working on that. I think at this point I've added extra colors to the color palette in a way that still, I think, looks really clean and chic, but also you could just basically ignore the color pink and it's still like a really expansive and interesting color palette. We're keeping pink in though, don't even worry. But yeah. Oh, you mind if I just pour my coffee all over myself? Would that be okay? Sorry, the only napkin I have, I used earlier, and it was in the trash can. But, like, it's my own personal office trash can that's, like, empty and clean. And I know exactly, like, what I used this napkin for earlier, and it's fine. So I did just fish it out, but not bad. I'm at the stage where I still have, like, a sip left, but in order to get it, like, all the ice has to just absolutely accost my face on the way. So, basically right now I'm working on the color palette, and I basically want to have like every color in the rainbow, but in a tone that fits the scheme. So we're going through Roy G. Biv, and we're making sure we've got everything we need. Right now I think we're missing just orange. Actually, I think maybe more of a yellow. There we go. Yeah. I tell you, you will never feel like more of a one-trick pony as a designer than when you're picking out colors and fonts. Just because, like, hello, I have an aesthetic I like. Everything kind of is like that, you know? No. Hold on. That just... And it's crazy. I start moving around my color palette a little bit and everything falls apart. Not falls apart, but the colors start looking different, right? Based on what order they're in, because that's how color theory works. Okay. I actually really like that. It's calming. It's eye-catching. It feels like it fits the world I'm building. All right. So we're going to change that color. So now I'm going back in and changing things. I think we'll do this. And maybe this. Y'all can't see what I'm doing. It's my little secret. I'm just changing font colors right now. Really. It's kind of fun. We also had the AI integration conversation. A lot of what we're building feels like, obviously, a lot of what everyone is building right now feels like it could benefit from AI integration. But I very quickly was like, I think our user base for this app, like, we're going to alienate our audience if we integrate. And basically, like, I don't know, I didn't have to do any twisting of arms. Like, me and my boss were already on the same page about that. Not in any type of way, just like, I honestly don't even know how accessible that even is to integrate unless you're like a big tech. I don't know. I really don't know. But I just was like, yeah, no. I don't know that that's the right fit based on who I think our users will be. I think that will be a real turnoff. And so it was like fun to talk. Not fun, but like, I don't know. It was good to talk through things like that too. Like, I don't know. It's just like interesting that these are the conversations that are had. I'm still new, you know, to this. It feels like I'm still, it's still crazy to me that the people I work with can build things in this way. It's cool. Like, that's crazy. It's crazy that like I like wrote an app idea in my notes app and was able to talk to my bosses about it, and like now we're talking about the feasibility of it. That's crazy. That's literally crazy. Really cool. Like, actually could make me emotional. when I think about like why I came up with it and the need that I have, and then the Reddit feeds that like I'll get email notifications and read someone's big long story post on Reddit and like really like connect with everything that they're sharing and be like, whoa, it's crazy that there are other people that have struggled with things similarly, and like, I don't know, like, that's cool. And then the idea too that then my experience with an issue is universal in another way, and that I'm in a position to be like, building this would fix my problem. And then being able to talk through like what's your experience with things like this, and like what would fix your problems like that, and then like taking steps towards exploring whether or not it's feasible, maybe building something. It's like just really cool. That's like crazy. I didn't ever think that would be a thing. And maybe it's not, right? But But yeah, it's regardless, it's like a fun creative exercise to be going through. So very fulfilling. I'm going to stop yapping. It feels like it's that time of day. It's stop yapping o'clock. So I've got to heed my orders and stop yapping. But I hope y'all are having a great day. I cannot believe it's Thursday. This week has been one of those weeks that's been like long and short all at the same time. Weird. But I hope you're having a great week. If not, I hope there's always more chances. There's more days. I hope things shape up for you. And I will see you tomorrow. Happy Friday tomorrow. We'll have a fun Friday. I don't know what it'll be, but